Welcome. This is Jeff Phillips with Accountingfly. We're firing up day 3 of Meet the Firms Week. Welcome to the students out there, to the former students. Welcome to our CPA Academy members. You guys from CPA Academy, we're glad you're here. The content here is geared for students. This is a student conference. However, everything that we're talking about applies to you if you're a student or you're a CPA, including what Rebekah Brown's going to be talking about this afternoon. But you will hear us talking to students. Just want to give you a heads up on that. I can't believe we're halfway through the week. The event, as you know, is free. I want to thank our sponsors, the AICPA and their PCPS. So that's an organization of 7,500 firms that are members of the AICPA, and they've helped put this event on. I want to thank Xero. We're going to have a session just with Xero tomorrow. I really hope you're there because Amy Vetter is a rock star and is going to teach you about technology you need to know to have a successful career. I want to thank Gleim CPA Review. And lastly, thank Surgent CPA Review. So a little bit about Gleim CPA, one of the sponsors I want to focus on. They've been around since 1974. In fact, the University of Florida Business School atrium is named after Dr. Gleim, who was a longtime professor. They have an access to a pass guarantee. They have some really cool adaptive learning technology. They have the largest test bank on the market. And what I love about Gleim is they have this amazing support staff of coaches to support you through the process until you pass. And it's not lip service. They really are there to support you. They're offering a 15% off their test prep services. This is a great product, a great company. Or you can take a free test drive of any section that you want. So I'm going to send out the link for that. So you have a link and you can multitask. You can check out their page on Accountingfly while we're on the call. And I'll send it out again at the end of the call. We don't have this event if it isn't for sponsors like Gleim, period. So I'd appreciate if you guys would download or try the free demo, give it a shot. You'll be glad you did. So are you going to let somebody else decide your career path, or are you going to take control of your career path yourself? That is what we're going to be talking about this morning. Because you cannot sit back and do as you're told. Whether you're a student, whether you're an intern, entry level, or experienced, you've got to take assertiveness over your career path. And what can you do to make sure you don't become somebody else's idea of who they want you to be? So Rebekah, welcome. I'm gonna introduce everybody to Rebekah Brown, and then she's gonna get going. So Rebekah, who also goes by Becky, earned a degree in business administration, specializing in accounting from the Ohio State University. Is that right?
That's right. That is correct.
2009 grad from Ohio State, 2011 CPA, 2 public accounting internships, 3 years as an audit staff at a mid-market firm. And then Rebekah, you're going to talk about this, took a course change, left working in public accounting and decided to help public accountants. So she works for the Maryland Society of CPAs. She's the manager of membership development and engagement at MACPA. She is on Twitter. I'm going to give you her Twitter handle. I want you guys to follow her because she's a perfect example of how to use social media. I'm going to stick around, leave my webcam open, and I may chime in on some points here because this is a critical topic, and I'm really glad everybody's here today. So, what do you think, Rebekah? Should we get going?
We can get going, yeah.
All right, cool. The floor is yours, and I'm going to put out your Twitter handle here.
Sure. First, I'll go ahead and apologize that it looks like I'm in some sort of dungeon here. I'm actually in the recording studio of the MACPA and the Business Learning Institute where I work. And the recording studio basically is a closet that we turned into a recording studio. So I have this big black backdrop behind me that normally when we do our webcast we have like watermark logos and things, but since we're doing this through GoToWebinar, we don't have that, so it kind of just looks like I'm in a closet, which I am. So I'll apologize for that. But yeah, thanks for having me, Jeff. I'm really excited to be here. This is one of my favorite things to do, is to talk with students, especially about the career and about the awesome opportunities that being a CPA provides to you guys. I want to start out with a poll, Jeff, if you could pull that up, to see what year you guys are in school, whether you already graduated, kind of get an idea of where you guys are.
Becky, you may not be able to see this but I'm going to tell you that, let's see. So we have a lot of folks who have recently graduated or out of school. 13%, like so 70% have graduated. 14%, 15% are grad students, and 10% are seniors. Another 10% or so are juniors and freshmen.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
So we've got a little bit of a mix. Let's see, do I need to do something to get it back to my screen?
Nope, you got it now.
Okay.
You may want to hit the go back to presentation mode.
There we go. Yep, there we go. Okay, so I don't know, I'll have to do that each time we do a poll. So you guys, well, first here's my information. I'll show this at the end too. Please LinkedIn with me, follow me on Twitter. That's my SlideShare account as well. I'll post this. I know Accountingfly is posting, I think, all the slides from these presentations on their SlideShare. I'm going to have mine up there as well on mine. There's a couple other presentations I've done for students on there if you're interested. That's my contact information. I really want to be a resource to anybody, any student, graduate, already CPA that's looking to kind of advance their career and help you guys do that. That's my contact information. This again is my SlideShare. It's slideshare.net/RJ Brown CPA. So you guys are all entering, or have entered, I guess, if some of you are graduated, a really great profession at a really great time, too. But have you ever wondered why we call it a profession and not just like an industry? Most times you think of industries and maybe not profession. And there's actually a specific reason. So a profession has three major attributes: a distinct and evolving body of knowledge, a commitment to the public interest, which is licensed by the government, and then a code of conduct and ethics. Now, our profession, the CPA profession, is actually part of a larger economic system. So this is a picture of all the different pipes that are under most city streets. And so you probably have no idea that you're driving over this most of the time. And you don't really notice or care or think about them, right, until they break. And then there's this huge traffic jam, and schools have to close, and there's water coming out, and chaos, right? And this is kind of how the CPA profession operates a little bit. It's like those pipes that have been quietly working for years that nobody necessarily pays attention to, but then something happens, like the stock market crash in 1929, and that created the SEC, or the Enron and WorldCom scandals, which resulted in Sarbanes-Oxley and the PCAOB. So there's several more examples of that, but the whole idea is that the CPA profession really is part of a bigger infrastructure that supports the market system. And like those pipes under our streets, it's often invisible until something breaks. So I want to go to the next poll. All
right.
Real quick, Jeff, which should say, are you getting your CPA, or are you planning on getting your CPA? Some of you, since we have some graduates and some CPA Academy people joining us, maybe you already are a CPA. But we'll see.
I can give you the answers, and we'll leave this up for about 10 more seconds. Just select one and hit submit. But yeah, if you are a CPA, you can go ahead and just click yes. But 87% of our audience today says yes, they do plan on getting a CPA, and we could probably extract it. Some of them already have a CPA as well, and 8% say no, and 5 or 6% are saying they're not sure yet.
Okay, interesting. So hopefully I will help those 5 to 6% say yes next time, and change those no's to yeses too by the end of my presentation. That's kind of my goal as a fan of the profession, I guess, and part of it too.
It's part of the reason we're doing this event too. Is that same reason? Is there's 15 people on the call that are not sure. I'm hoping that they will leave this event, with the data they need to make a decision. I hope they'll decide to become CPAs.
Yep. So here's some great information about the opportunities that are available to you as a CPA, and hopefully this might convince you. So the CPA as a profession is growing rapidly. And there's really this like war for talent that's going on. And you guys are the talent and you're winning the war. So it's 91% of all firms right now are forecasting that the hiring of accounting graduates for them is going to be the same or greater in the upcoming year. It said up there at top, 33% of all firms expect to have the same or greater number of CPAs on staff. There's a 13% growth rate from the Department of Labor in accounting and auditing jobs from 2012 to I think it's 2022. I had a little thing blocking me there. It's consistently ranked as one of the best business jobs, best STEM jobs, best careers. A lot of people talk about the stability in accounting and being in the CPA profession. It's something that we're always going to need, and you're always going to be in demand. Let's see.
As you're moving along there, I just want to jump in.
Yeah, please.
Oh, you're breaking this out. This is awesome. But the demand for the accounting students is currently at an all-time high across the country. I mean, the supply is high too, but if you have an accounting degree, there are more students than there are jobs right now, and so you have opportunities. If you're a senior, or you're looking to break into public accounting, you've got some CPA experience or accounting experience, you are also in some of the highest demand in the history of the profession. So think about that. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really a great time that you guys are entering the profession. When I entered, it wasn't necessarily the same. There was still a great. So I graduated in 2009, so not the greatest time in our economy. But for accountants, I was able to go into my senior year of college with my job, with my firm already lined up, because the profession is constantly growing. And actually, when the economy kind of does worse, sometimes we see the profession actually need more people in the profession because there's some sort of crisis going on, and we have the expertise around those things. So here's some other stats. The employers still say that the CPA is one of the most desired credentials that you can have. There's really solid salary growth as well. 4.7% predicted across the whole profession for 2016, and over 5% for new accounting staff in salary growth. It's one of the top positions in demand, and sorry about that. And it's one of the fastest growing financial services. Is one of the fastest growing industries. So in case I haven't convinced you yet, I have lots more things to say, but I found this pretty cool as well. So AICPA did some brand research, and I think it was back in 2011 when they did their Vision 2025, which if you can look that up, look up CPA Horizons 2025. The AICPA and the state societies did a vision for the CPA profession, and we're one of the only professions that has really made a vision and it's like almost like a strategic plan for its future. And we've done it twice now. So we did it in 1997 with our plan for 2011, and we did it again in 2011 with our plan for 2025. So definitely Google that and check that out to see, what CPAs in 2011 were saying they needed and they wanted the profession to look like in 2025. But the point to that is they did some brand research at that point, and they found that the CPA as a brand, that designation as a brand, was as recognizable as Disney and Apple. Like, that's pretty cool. Everyone can recognize that Disney font and that Apple. So to think that you're in a profession that is respected and as recognizable as those two companies is pretty awesome.
Becky, you think about, they do a lot of polls on respect for different professions.
Yep.
And, politicians and attorneys and corporate CEOs tend to get dinged, I think, quite a bit. What this is telling me is that there's a great deal of respect for the brand that of being a CPA and professionally, and that's pretty remarkable. Would you agree?
Yeah, it is. It's great, and part of that goes back to why what we do, that and why we're profession, that code of conduct and those ethics. CPAs are required to be ethical. Most states require some sort of ethics continuing education every year. So it's really baked into who we are and what we do, and I think that shows in the public's perception of us, definitely. So I think I've hopefully established for you that having the CPA is important and can really take you anywhere you want to go. So the question is, where do you want to go? You know. So this is a quote from Watts Wacker, who is a futurist, and he says that if you don't have a vision for yourself and your future, that you're just going to be sucked into someone else's vision for you. And I think that's true and a little scary. And so if you think about it, when you started your college career, did you just show up one day and kind of like start taking classes? Well, no, that's not really how it works, right? You worked hard in high school, you took SAT or ACTs, you applied, you filled out these really long applications, wrote essays, you probably went on college visits to pick the right one for you, and then you got accepted, right? And even then it didn't major, you chose your schedule, your classes, the school that you went to. You did a lot of the planning for your college and educational career, or college and path, your educational path. And I really want to make sure that that planning and that taking control doesn't stop there, that it continues into your career, that you're in control of your career path just as you were in control of your educational path. So it can be easy to do, though. I totally understand. You graduated, you're finally like, ah, I can relax. I have this great job, great paying job. You're also probably pretty busy if you're working in public accounting. And so you end up relying pretty heavily on your organization or your firm for the learning and growth opportunities for you. But that's kind of in a dangerous spot, right? Because you can wake up years later, kind of out of the fog maybe of busy season, and go, wait a second, how did I get here? This isn't really what I planned. I kind of showed up that first day so excited that I just kind of followed what everybody told me to do, and now I'm like have this niche area and I don't really like it, or you end up your organization will provide you learning and growth opportunities in their organization with what they need you to do. But maybe that's not the best thing for you. Maybe it is. So what can you do to prevent you waking up basically in someone else's dream for your career? And so I think there's really three things you need to do, three things you need to know. And the first one is yourself. So this is where I'm going to tell my story a little bit. So as Jeff said, I graduated in 2009 from the Ohio State University. I know I get a lot of slack from that, but it really does say the Ohio State University on my diploma. And so I graduated from there with a major in accounting and sports management, actually, which is a whole nother weird story. But I went to work for a mid-size top 100 firm in Maryland, really great firm, consistently ranked as like one of the best places to work. And I only lasted there 3 years. I had interned there the summer before, and I got my CPA my first year. I was promoted to senior my second year. And that year of my third year as a senior, I kind of started looking around and noticing like nobody seems as stressed as I am. Like I was overwhelmingly stressed. But my fellow seniors, they had the same workload and they had the same hours as I did, but they just didn't seem to have the same stress that I did. Thought those were pretty interesting, but I kind of like put it on the back burner and kind of just kept on doing my work. And then there was this light bulb kind of moment for me. We had our annual CPE training, and all the seniors were gathered in a room, and the teacher had us do this leadership style assessment. And as we took it, I got my results back, and it categorized me, my leadership style, as spirited and considerate. And I thought, wow, those are really nice words, but I'm not sure that they describe the public accounting environment. Um, and I remember actually asking the teacher of the program, should I have been a kindergarten teacher? Because those words just don't seem very business oriented, like spirited and considerate. I feel like I should be like making crafts or something. And each and every one of my fellow seniors, I was all good friends with, um, they kind of laughed at me too, because they were like, "We totally see this. How did you not know this?" But they were all categorized as direct and systematic. And I'm
Right.
like, okay, that sounds more like the environment that we work in. Not that it's bad, but that's just kind of the culture that we worked in. And so I thought, man, that's really interesting. I wonder if that has to do with why I feel the way I do. I'm not working any more than anyone else, but it's just draining me so much faster than everyone else. So I took this into consideration, and I took a couple other assessments, strengths-based kind of assessments. And I found out that my strengths and values were things like empathy, responsibility, loyalty, and developing others. And all these things are great to have, but they maybe didn't fit, they didn't allow me, I didn't get to use them very much in the career that I had right then. So I went to my management with an idea. That year prior, I had developed a whole training program for our staff, and had just loved doing that and talking with the interns and new staff and teaching them. And so I went to management and I said, here's the deal. I don't think I can continue to stay doing what I'm doing, but I love this firm and I love where it's going. And so what I want to do is help people come in. I want to recruit, I want to train, I want to develop, and use my strengths. And because I know how to, I can still be on audits as necessary, but that won't be like the main focus of my job. But they turned me down. They said that's not something that they needed right then, which I understand. So I actually quit. I quit a job without having another job to go to, which is not recommended. And it wasn't because I hated the firm or the people I worked with or somebody offered me more money or anything like that, but it was because it wasn't the best place for me at the time. Like, it wasn't that vision that I had of where I wanted to go. I wasn't able to do that there. So my happy ending, of course, is that since then, I've actually turned down multiple opportunities to do that kind of exact job that I pitched to my firm for other firms, because I found this amazing place for me at the Maryland Association of CPAs and the Business Learning Institute. And here I get to use my strengths and values to recruit, train, develop the future of an entire profession, talk to you guys like you, instead of just one firm. And I get to work for the profession that I care so much about and not inside it, where I didn't quite fit in that kind of role. And it's interesting. I like to say I work for the profession instead of in it, which I love talking about accounting and the profession more than I love doing it, which is really interesting. So that's my story. And so how does that kind of relate to you guys? Well, lucky for you, you are not me. So you don't have that problem going for you. But you each have your own unique strengths and values. And these might make you perfectly suited for public accounting. But they may not. And either way, knowing them is the most important thing that you can do. So I want to share with you a couple of the tools that I used. So this is Strength Finders 2.0. It's by Tom Rath, and it uses Gallup as the survey tool. It's like an easy $15. There's the link right there, gallupstrengthsfinder.com. $15 gets you a PDF of the book, and it also gets you to the assessment that you take, and it gives you your top 5 strengths. A ton of research has gone into this area, and I really think that their assessment is like dead on. It's like almost eerie when you're reading it. You're like, oh, I only spent like 20 minutes taking a survey, and they know me. And I'm not paid by any of these tools or anything. These are just things that really helped me, so I like to share them. The VIA Institute on Character has the VIA Character Strengths, and these I refer to more as values, but they call them character strengths. This is a free assessment online. It's actually been taken by over 2.6 million people in 193 countries and in 18 languages. So it's a pretty cool assessment as well. Lots of research and different tools on that website. And then the final thing down there is about finding your sweet spot. And that's a blog post, actually, that I wrote this summer after going through some additional training at AICPA's EDGE conference with Gretchen Pisano. And it's really just about how you combine your strengths and your values with what other people value, and kind of making that into finding your sweet spot is where those things intersect. So it's an awesome blog post that has links to more information. So that I made like a shorter link for you there. It's cpa.tc/suite.
Hey, Becky.
Yeah.
So I want to connect a couple dots and ask a question here.
Sure.
You know, there are people in the audience who are students who are sort of looking at the future of their career, and there are CPAs or accountants without a CPA who are probably starting work and wondering, maybe even wondering why you're talking about this, and because I had somebody chime in and say like, well, why are we talking about StrengthsFinder? And I think it's interesting because the direction you're going here is owning your career. And the comment I made back to the CPA on the phone was, one day you're going to probably want to do this. And I think that when you start in a firm, the firm is going to train you for their own purposes, and that's good because you're skill set. But is that the direction you want to go? You have options like staying in that firm for the next 15 years to become a partner, or quitting that firm and going to private industry, or starting a firm when the fact that 75% of all CPAs are going to be retired by the time you're 30. It helps to know yourself to understand where you ought to be going. And these tools, I've used StrengthsFinder 10 years ago, and it set me on a new direction in my own career. It's a very valuable tool.
Yeah, totally agree. And these tools, they're not going to, like, a lot of students, one of the things I get asked is like tax or audit. I'm like, okay, well, there's more than just tax and audit, first of all. There's more than just public accounting, too. But these tools aren't going to like flat out tell you where you should go. It's not going to be like, okay, and here's your perfect job. But they're more of like a guide to kind of refer back to when you make big decisions in your life. Like, am I living my values, my strengths in making this decision? And it might take some work experience, and that's okay too. So I wouldn't trade my years in public accounting for anything. I learned so much in those 3 years and made really great friendships and things that I continue at NACPA. I get to work with my old firm a lot and love seeing them and doing things with them. So there's no way that I would trade those years, and there's no way I could be doing what I do now without that experience. Couple things. If you're already in your career, just use it as like a check-in, like to see, am I really living in my strengths and values? Is this the right environment? If you're like overwhelmingly stressed, it could be because you're working outside your strengths. When you work inside your strengths and values, you kind of get energy back. Have you ever done something that's like exhausting, but like you're like so energized throughout the day, or you come away from it like feeling pumped, but you spent like 12 hours doing it? That's because you're working in your strengths. You actually get like energy back from it. When you're working against your strengths or outside your strengths, it actually will drain you faster than someone that's working inside their strengths doing it. So that's why I talk about this. I just think it's super important, it has really changed my life profoundly. Um, so that's a couple things. And for students especially, I recommend taking these, one, as a kind of guide to where you decide to go and work, and two, to help your employer too. So if you take these assessments and you include them on your resume or your cover letter, and you can explain to an organization like, hey, this is who I am in 5 strengths and 5 values. I think that I can contribute a lot to your firm or your organization because of this. It like blows them out of the water. Like if you've done your research on you and you're confident in who you are, you can go in and say like, hey, I think I'm going to be an awesome asset to your organization because these are my strengths, and I know that these are strengths that you value too. So it kind of helps you connect culturally to a firm because each firm has a unique culture, and also gives you a huge leg up on competition if you're able to say like, this is what sets me apart, this is who I am, I'm confident in who I am, and this is what I think I can do inside your firm.
Hey, Becky, I wanted to
Yeah.
tag on to this because we have talked all week about identifying strengths and weaknesses and the importance of that. If you at one point in time you are going to look for a new job, you are going to have to engage someone to get that new job, and you're going to have to explain to them who you are. And part of explaining who you are is a chronological history of your work, but that is not what is connecting. What connects is to understand what you're good at and where your weak spots are, and to articulate that with stories, okay, that explain who you are. And there is where the connection point happens. We've talked almost in every webinar this week about the importance of networking. I take it for granted how obvious it is, but you get hired at places where you know people, period. And that is a extreme, and sometimes.
Don't make the rest of my slides.
Okay, sorry, but I want to ask you a question. If you're going to go into this later, then don't answer it now. But you work with accounting students and CPAs on a daily basis.
Yep.
What are you seeing out there, and are people taking advantage of this? Are you seeing results when CPAs who are systematic and data driven and analytical doing things like Strengths Finder, and are you seeing change happen because they're understanding their strengths?
Yes. So I'm not going to go more into that, so I will answer that real quick. So part of what I do at MACPA and the Business Learning Institute is strategic planning for firms. And so I've actually gone into firms and helped them build a strategic plan for their firm based on, and one of the parts that we do is the strengths of the entire firm. So we've had firms bring in everyone from the lowest like intern and admin staff to the managing partner, and have them in one room and create a strategic plan and vision for the firm and kind of connect like, okay, this is somebody's strength, so we're going to put them in this role. Even though they're a staff, they're really, strategic in their thinking. So we're going to put them on this team. And it's really cool to see the culture change inside a firm when they are all engaged and working towards the same vision and mission. And these things, these strength finders and VIA kind of help create everybody on the same playing field and help them understand your coworkers better. That's the other thing. You can learn a lot about yourself with these tools, but it also helps you learn how to interact with people that have different strengths and values and know where maybe you're weak, and so you want to build a team around you that isn't like you, but it has strengths and values in other areas so that you're more well-rounded in your team. So I'm going to go to the next one, Jeff, unless you have a follow-up.
Go on. Thank you.
You're good? Okay. So the next thing that I want you to know is your network. So Jeff set that up perfectly for me. So network, network, network. I cannot emphasize this enough. There's that saying in business that kind of Jeff alluded to, that it's not what you know, but who you know. And while I don't know if that's completely true, it certainly doesn't hurt. There's studies have shown that like almost 30 to 50% of hires come through a referral. And I've seen that in my life. I've seen that in all my friends' life. It's really a great up on the competition that if you're applying for a job. And networking encompasses a lot of different things. There's those in-person kind of networking events. There's social media, which is another great tool to connect and then stay in touch with people that you might have met at a live event. And some large organizations are going to have their own kind of networking culture, whether it be like regular happy hours or just like informal water cooler talk kind of things. But I just want to make sure in this idea of, you know, taking control of your career that you're not just relying on your employer to have those networking opportunities for you, and that you're not just networking inside your firm or organization or even specialty area, because you could be missing out on really, really great opportunities. So I really suggest getting involved in the profession, and these are three great places to get involved. So the first is the AICPA, the American Institute of CPAs. If you're not connected and a member of them, you need to be right away. I believe their student membership is free. There are other memberships for like CPA candidates and CPAs are very reasonable. Lots and lots of great information and tools, and then connecting to literally like thousands and thousands of CPAs, you know, worldwide, really. The second is more of your local kind of connection. So each state that you can be licensed in, including Puerto Rico, I guess is not a state, but has a CPA state society. So I work for the Maryland Association of CPAs, but there's a Virginia Society and in North Carolina, and I just like pulled up some random logos of my colleague states. This is a great, great place to get involved and to learn and to network. Just really awesome opportunities. A lot of them have student memberships. Several of them are free. I know MACPA's student membership is free. And they offer different resources for students, especially in that whole CPA licensure process. They're like your biggest advocate and fan in helping you get through that. And then they're also there during your whole career as kind of like a network. You know, they seek to be, at least at MACPA, and I'm fairly certain all my colleagues at the other states, seek to be that like constant throughout your career. That's kind of like your cheerleader, your resource, your go-to in your career. So definitely recommend there. I put a short link there too to a AICPA listing of all the different state societies, so you can click there and get a link. And then the last one is NABA, the National Association of Black Accountants. And there's also ALPHA, which is for Latino professionals, and Ascend for the Asian professionals, but also really great organizations. And they have local kind of chapters as well. So if you were involved in one in college, definitely recommend staying involved and serving on those. All great professional development opportunities and networking opportunities in those three. So I had a poll, Jeff, to see who were members of their state society. Just
Great
curious.
All right, guys. Are you a member of your state society? You can click yes, no, or what's a state society? I mean, if you click in that, you might have not been paying attention, but you might want to answer it.
Yeah, I think I was going to ask this question before I started talking about them, but forgot about it.
We have, so Rebekah, you just sort of explained the state societies and what they are, but talk for a second about why this is important, and because here's why. Here's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah.
50% of the people on this call are not a member of their state society. 49% are members, and then 1% is saying, "What's a state society?" So, and legitimately, I think it's worth defining a state society, but talking about why it's important for students and young professionals. And I'm going to go ahead and close the poll because 89% have already voted. You got 3, 2, 1. I'm closing it now. Thank you very much. And back to you.
Sure. So state societies. To have someone local that you can connect with on licensure issues at the very least is amazing and helpful. I know I spend a fair good portion of my day just answering students' questions about how they can become a CPA, because each state is different in their rules and different regulations and things that you have to do. to become a CPA and to sit for the exam. So if you went to school in a different state and your professor told you how to be a CPA in that state, definitely check with your state board and your state society in the state that you want to practice in, because they do differ. Also, a main thing that we at MACPA do, well, two main things. The first one is advocacy. So the CPA license is a license by the state. So you are regulated. It's funny, after all the work, you get this little, like, at least in Maryland, you get this little certificate that's about this big, and it kind of looks just like a certificate at the hairdresser's office, or not office, but at the hairdresser that they have on their mirror. And it's a little disappointing because you're like, man, I worked so hard for this little piece of paper. But it's a state license, so they can make like whenever Congress is in session at your state, or you're at risk, basically, I like to say. So the CPA state societies monitor all the legislation that is going through whatever your state legislator is doing, and looking for those kind of like small little add-ons and things that could affect CPAs. So I'll give an example. There was a bill in Maryland a couple years back that had just like this little thing at the end that all people that deal with debt and looking at debt payments and things had to be a licensed private investigator. So as CPAs, we obviously deal with that, and so they were almost tacking on a whole nother requirement and license for us, and so we found that and got CPAs exempt from that. In terms of other things that firms are always wanting to make sure doesn't get passed in our legislature is tax on sales services, or sales tax on services. There we go.
That's hard.
So we're always looking out for that. There's all these kinds of weird things like contributory negligence. Whether the CPA's name is signed on the audit report, and whether if something goes wrong fraud-wise, they can come after you personally. Things like that, we're always monitoring in our legislature. Also,
quick question on the state society. So, I wanted to fast forward to a part of it, like for students. A lot of state societies have student networking groups where you guys are. MACPA has one, for example, where you're teaching students and young professionals on networking skills. You've got job opportunities that you connect them with, right? I mean, there's a lot of options in your state society, and I know you can't speak for all of them, but that's available, right?
Yeah. So sorry, the advocacy is something that I'm supposed to like hone on a lot, but a lot of the learning and development things. So all CPAs need, it's varies state to state, but continuing education. So we have that available, and a lot of our continuing education is more geared to the softer skills that you're maybe not getting at your job, and because they're really going to take care of those technical trainings. But lots of resources, networking opportunities. I just helped a student get an interview at KPMG the other day because they were really interested and I had a connection and things like that. So he got offered the job last week, so that was pretty exciting. But having a connection, having a face-to-face with CPAs in your area. Our CPAs also connect a lot, and young professionals just to like bounce ideas off each other. And if they have a real technical question, we have almost like a chat room kind of thing that people ask questions in and help each other. So it's a network to have, and it's really important. I know that we're kind of going quickly here, so I'm going to move on to the next thing. But this is to know your stuff. So know yourself, know your network, know your stuff. So we have a pretty constantly changing and complex profession, and it means that you need to be constantly learning. So we have this saying here at MACPA and BLI, and it's L is greater than C squared. So it means that in this period of like rapid change and chaos almost sometimes, the winners are really going to be those that can keep their rate of learning greater than the rate of change and greater than their competition. So that's the C squared. So this goes way beyond those continuing education hours that you need. in order to maintain your license, because your organization, firm, whatever, is going to be on top of that most of the time for your technical compliance. But this goes way beyond. It doesn't even have to be formal learning, and so I'm going to give you a couple examples. First of all, if you like to read, huge advantage there. The more you can read, I think the better off you are in life in general. I'm not a huge book reader. I just have a short attention span. So I do a lot of blog readings, but I do have some recommendations for you guys. So these are my book recommendations. To Sell as Human by Dan Pink. So kind of like the idea that that everybody's really in sales. And sales, almost in the CPA profession, sometimes is like a dirty word. We don't like to deal with that. But you really are a seller of yourself, your expertise, and it's really more about how you can motivate others, and it's really critical to success. So I recommend that. Start with Why. This is one of my favorites. Simon Sinek, just adore him. He also has a TED Talk called How Great Leaders Inspire Action. That's basically the Start With Why book in a 20-minute TED Talk. If you're more of a video person, check that out. Just important lessons about starting with why. You know, it's a really awesome TED Talk. Can't say enough. Look, Lead, Love, Learn is by my friend and colleague Bill Sheridan. It's a kind of a collection of the blog posts that he's written for our organization's CPA Success blog. Really easy, quick read. Linchpin is by Seth Godin, another really fantastic blogger if you're looking for a good blog to read. It's more about your choices, your future, and how you can really make an impact in whatever field or profession you choose to go into. Flash Foresight is by Dan Burris, who is a world-renowned futurist. We've been working with him a lot here at MACPA and BLI. So accounts typically tend to live kind of in the past. A lot of reporting on what has already happened, if you think of tax returns and financial statements. But it's interesting with the pace of technology that a lot of those kind of things are going to become more and more automated, and CPAs really need to think about the skills that they have and use them for kind of a different purpose. So in Flash Foresight, Dan kind of teaches his systematic, easy-to-use kind of methods for identifying opportunities and solving problems before they happen. Really cool. You kind of get to predict the future a little bit, and he breaks it down to actual people like I can do, and not some great futurist. And then finally, Today We Are Rich by Tim Sanders, another great book on confidence and having that confidence, which is totally one of the biggest things you can have, especially in interviews and things like that. So these are my blog recommendations. Obviously, Accountingfly, you're probably already familiar with, hopefully, if you're on this webcast, but great information there. Going Concern, also great news source for the profession and really funny a lot of the times. Accounting Today, awesome news source for the profession. CPA Success is my MACPA and the Business Learning Institute's blog. Great information on CPA, leadership, career kind of stuff. I write for that. Bill wrote Look, Lead, Love, Learn, writes for it, and my CEO, Tom Hood, writes for that. And then AICPA's Journal of Accountancy, which if you're an AICPA member, you actually get in the mail. They also have a website, and then AICPA Insights is their blog. So things that you should definitely be following and doing. And then, Jeff, if you want to throw up that poll about social media.
You got it. All right. I've been dying to ask this poll. All right, guys. All right, Becky, you can walk them through it. Here we go. You see it?
So yeah. Choose all that you guys are using, because we're kind of interested to see how many of you are using these things, and in particular, how many of you, well, I guess we'll see how many of you are on each one, and then I might talk a little bit about what their use is from a business standpoint.
Got it. I'm going to give it five more seconds, but I'm going to start telling you the results. Becky, it's
Okay.
so right at 51% are on YouTube. But I'd be curious if they're actually using it for professional networking and things like that. But 77% are on LinkedIn. That's interesting. 70% are on Facebook. 20% are on Twitter. That explains a lot. You guys need to get on Twitter, but hopefully you'll talk about that in a second. And I'm going to close this poll up. 90% have voted. Thank you guys for putting this in. I'm going to try to show these results. Rebekah, you probably can't see this, but the audience probably can, I hope.
I actually can see it.
Yeah, so there you go.
Perfect. So only 3% on SlideShare. Okay, hopefully we'll change that.
Good one.
So, oops.
I'll hide the results now if you're ready to show your slide.
Yep, I'm ready.
Cool.
So social media is actually a really great place to learn as well. I know it doesn't always look that way, but it's way more than selfies and funny cat videos, I like to say. I think LinkedIn, a lot of you said you were on LinkedIn. That's probably one of the most used business kind of purpose-wise, and it's obvious and it's great to have. It's super important that you have an updated profile. Think of that as like your digital resume, and a professional photo on there is key. And then you can actually follow people on LinkedIn too. There's LinkedIn influencers, I think they call them, and then they write basically blog posts through LinkedIn. Great information, ways to learn. YouTube, a lot of you were on YouTube. I'm hoping that you're watching more than just funny cat videos. I understand that they're funny, but there's a lot you can learn on YouTube. Just this week, we at MACP and BLI moved all of our stuff from Microsoft Office to Google Apps. So I'm a huge Excel nerd, as any good CPA is. So I've been learning how to use Google Sheets and do all the cool pivot tables and crazy stuff that I did in Excel. And I've been using YouTube a lot for that, videos on how to use Google Sheets instead of Excel, or do the things I did in Excel with Google Sheets. Twitter, I know a lot of you aren't on it, and I'm sad because it's one of my favorites. And I'm not just posting, like, oh, I just had the best meal or whatever, although I am a foodie, so I do tend to post some food pictures, sorry. But it is an awesome, awesome tool to kind of get the pulse on what's going on in the profession. So I'm going to go right to this slide, I think. Let's see. There we go, of my top people to follow on Twitter. And if you're super against being on Twitter, first of all, you can have an account and never post anything. First thing. Second thing, if you're super against being on Twitter, you can always just go right to these people's accounts and just look at what they're saying without actually logging into Twitter at all. You just go to twitter.com and slash their handle. So the first one there is Tom Hood. That is my boss. He actually just this month or last month was ranked the second most influential person in accounting, which I'm super proud of and super blessed to get to work with him. So he's a prolific tweeter, basically. If you want to know if anything's going on in the accounting profession, this guy is talking about it pretty much constantly. So if you just follow him, he will make it pretty easy on you. The next one there is FAF Norwalk. That's actually the Financial Accounting Foundation. So they're the ones responsible for FASB and GASB. And yes, they are on Twitter. So if a new pronouncement is coming out or they're talking about something, that's where you can find it. Really easy to do. Accountingfly, obviously, you want to continue to follow them. And then I have, let's see, who else do I have here? This Way to CPA, that's AICPA's college student program. If you go to thiswaytocpa.com, they have great resources. That's their Twitter handle. Accounting Today, again, great resource. And then I have up there your future employer. Because when you go into an interview, if you can know what's going on in that organization, which would definitely be all over their Twitter feed, such a leg up, such a great conversation starter, and being informed. I'm trying to not rush through things. One other thing about Twitter, conferences. The accounting profession has lots of conferences because continuing education is something we have to do, and it's really awesome because I can't go to every conference. So there's a meeting going on right now in Maui in Hawaii, and I can't be there, darn it. But I've been following the hashtag for it, and it's like I'm there because you're basically learning all the key insights of everyone that's walking out of a session in 49 characters or less. So it's super cheap, super easy because you're just sitting at home, just looking at it every once in a while, like, oh wow, you're getting all the really key good nuggets from a conference or a session for free, basically, and it's pretty cool. So I think I'd like sped through that at the end because I want to make sure we have time for questions. So I think my next slide is just if do you have any questions? Yep. So there's my information. If you have any questions or thoughts, sorry, Jeff, I did not leave as much time as I told you I would.
That's okay. I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
But see, this is why Twitter is awesome, because we have a lot of questions, and you could just tweet at Rebekah at RJ Brown CPA your question, and she could respond, and would
I
probably
can do that.
respond.
You're welcome to email me too. I probably will try to get back to you in the next week. But I'm actually going on vacation on Friday. I'm super
Nice.
excited. So.
Instead of the questions, I want to do a quick summary because we got a lot of very positive feedback. So first of all, we're going to be sending out a recording of this presentation. We're going to be sending out Rebekah's slides through SlideShare to everybody at the end of the week. I got that question a lot. Two summary points. It's like you get to control your career and your destiny, and that means knowing yourself, networking, and the networking is just beyond critical, and I think it's underplayed. And I think people come out of an accounting program with no clue about how to do this. You can network socially. You can network on social networks. I learned how to do Twitter from Tom Hood, your boss, because and you know he's excellent at it. I just paid attention to what he was doing, and I kind of got it.
Yep.
You can also you will get hired by people who know you, but you can know somebody through an interview if you're explaining who you are, what you're about, your strengths, your history, stories of what you've done. So you know that's why job boards like Accountingfly are useful, because you can make the connection through an application, but then it's up to you. It's completely up to you at that point. So hopefully you have the skill set to knock this out. We had a ton of questions. I hope you'll take them to Twitter, or if you'll email them. That's a good idea. Tag Accountingfly on it as well. But we
and link in with me. I'll check those messages as well.
And your LinkedIn account is right there. As we're wrapping up, I want to send two things across the wire here. One is Accountingfly Masters. So if you are in need of a master's program, you can check out a ton of information on Accountingfly about top masters in accounting programs: Case Western, UNC, Chapel Hill, Wake Forest. These schools want to talk to you. So take a look at our page. I just sent it out across the wire there. And the other one was going back to Gleim and this wonderful test prep product. I want you guys to check this out. You can demo their product for free, just to pick a section and demo it. And I'll leave these links live for a few minutes. Guys, I'm sorry we didn't have time to get questions, but I did work in about 15% of the questions through the webinar, and also our team is here answering the questions on site. So Rebekah, thanks a lot for doing this, and I know they can follow up with you on Twitter, LinkedIn, and even maybe email. But great insight. Obviously, you're playing to your strengths now, and we're grateful for that.
Thank you. I love my job. So.
All right, cool. Well, we'll let everybody get away since it's a minute after. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks again, Becky. Bye-bye. Hey, Becky, you can probably hear me, but can you